I don't know.
When did Sacred Heart School start, the high school? Was that in 41?
I don't remember.
Well, you're the first graduating class. What year did you
I
graduate?
think it was 41, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, when we came down here, I was in 6th grade. Yeah, I think I went over to school at St. Patrick's,
Yeah.
and I was in the 7th grade. So it would have been 6th grade, and I was born in 32, so what year would that have been?
44 or 45?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So that's just funny that you were so young and Bob's getting shipped over, and you
Yeah.
told me the story about you know, being a little girl praying for the soldiers over
Yeah,
Yeah,
seas.
that's
never
right.
knowing she was going to marry
Exactly.
one of them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
That's pretty neat. So then Bob and Bill came back, and so what did they?
They were in for 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
I
5
think.
years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill was behind the lines in, where was it?
Oh, God.
In some France. He was in
Yeah.
France, and some family, you know, they dropped
They
him
hit
out
him.
of
Yeah, he was a paratrooper.
paratrooper, and he these people there in France took him in and hit him.
Because it was still occupied by
Yeah.
the Germans.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I
And
think
Bob was right up there where they were firing the guns, and he was the one telling them when to fire them.
yeah, he had some rough experiences over there, didn't he?
Yes, he
Oh yeah, he had that one guy was. He was killed, but they thought maybe he was still alive. They tried to pull him out of it, and
Out of what, the gun turret?
yeah, and then when they did try to get him out, Bob said it was the darndest thing. He said he started farting like crazy.
poor guy. Oh.
Why does that sound like a being thing to remember?
Yeah.
Comment on.
Well, Bill said, you know, they had what they call foxholes. That guys dug holes so they'd be below. And Bill and this German jumped in at the same time. And I guess Bill had his gun out and shot him. And the guy, it didn't kill him. But they were in there together. And Bill could talk enough German that he understood the guy. And he pulled out a picture of his wife and 2 kids. And he knew he was dying. And he wanted Bill to look him up after the war and tell him that he loved him. Bill would tell, he never told it until he'd get pretty drunk. But he would cry, you know.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, because he was so young to have a horrible experience like
Right.
that, you know.
I'm going to pause it.
Well, I wanted to show you something.
Okay. I'll leave it run.
Oh, isn't it on pause?
No.
How long does that thing run?
This is my first time. We'll find out.
We'll find
It's got
out.
quite a bit of memory, so I think we're good.
Oh,
When
okay.
It's not like a tape that runs out. It's a memory.
When Bob was over there, he got some different things and brought them back, and this is one of them.
Well, Mary Lou, that one with the little kids are holding the bowl. That came from overseas too.
This one.
But he had some what do you call the things that they put drinks in? Some kind of a fancy.
Coaster.
Canteen.
Some special ones of those, and he said they got all broken up in the thing.
Oh.
But
okay.
this he brought back for you, didn't he, Mary?
I think so, yeah.
Yes, from over there. Look at it. Feel how heavy it is.
Wow. He brought that back.
Well, look at that one though, Pat.
Did he bring that one back?
Yeah,
Too?
yeah.
I don't know if I should risk this, but that's okay. Didn't he also bring home some, like a bayonet?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
you've got that, haven't you? He brought
I
back
think
some
Joe
kind of a
has-
gun that he found in a house over there.
I think Joe has that. He's
Oh,
got all
okay.
the guns.
That's
Yeah.
right. He's got the guns.
Is this what you're
one
talking
of
about?
these little fellas lost a leg.
Yes.
But that's still that's pretty
Yeah.
awesome that
Yeah,
he was
look
able
at those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How fancy those roses and things are.
Yeah.
I just can't get over how heavy this thing is.
I know it.
I just did not realize that's where those came. I don't know if I've ever seen that, but this, I mean, we grew up with
Well,
this
Mary-
in the China
Mary just brought this to us.
closet. Okay.
Bob was an officer, so he could have somebody wrap this stuff up, you
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
and ship it probably.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they tried their best to keep him in the service.
Oh, I
Some of
remember.
those- yeah.
yeah, some recruiting officer came by here one day at noon, and Bob used to come home. I'm sure he did that for years. Come home, lay down for 10 minutes,
Mhm.
and the guy was at the door, and Bob was kind of rude to him. And as he walked through, he said, "Hell no, I don't want to talk to him." He says, "I don't want any part of that service."
Well, after being overseas and seeing
Oh,
what he
yeah.
Yeah.
saw and had to go
Those guys,
through.
yeah.
I get it.
Okay.
Yeah, they saw the worst of the worst, I think.
Yeah, they did. And a miracle that they came back alive.
Yeah, when you think about how many families
Yeah.
that we all knew lost people.
Well, what did Bob end up doing right after he came back from the war?
He went to work for what was that guy's name? He had a clothing store up there by Queen City in Ohio.
Well, he last worked at Weller's.
No,
but it
th-
was
this
Mullins
was-
before that. I don't remember what the guy's name
Yeah,
owned
no,
that.
this was years ago.
But he worked in, did he start with McLaughlin
Well,
right after
then
the
he
war?
went to work. No, then he went to work with McLaughlin,
Okay.
and Phil wanted him to get into undertaking. And I think because of what Bob had seen in the service and everything, he just didn't want to try a handle on that.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
pretty tough.
stir up too many memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think you have to be pretty cold-blooded to be an undertaker anyhow.
Right. Yeah, you have to steel yourself against
Oh, yeah.
a lot.
Bring in friends of yours and things
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah. What did Bill end up doing right after he came back from the war? Did he move back here to Sedalia or?
Yeah, he and Noreen lived down there with her folks.
Well, you're getting some wild, crazy stuff on there, aren't you?
That was the intent.
Oh.
So
But
Did you turn that furnace down?
I turned it off for the time being.
Oh, you turned it off.
Yeah.
Okay.
and poor
I'm
Mary
getting
will have to
cold.
get, I'll have to get my coat on.
Yeah,
Mary, you know how I am.
Well, we're gonna keep filming until I see your cold breath coming out. Then I might turn it back on.
Uh-oh, Lord, we're in
We'll-
trouble.
Now we'll just go a few more minutes, but
Yeah.
what else? Okay, so Bill came back, married Noreen. Where did
They were married before.
Oh, they were already, he was
yeah.
already married.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they got married. I was 15 and Bill was 19, I guess, when they got married. And they got married over in the basement of the school. We had a little chapel down there.
Okay.
And so Jody and I stood up with him, Noreen's kid brother.
Okay.
And
Bob never went with anybody?
I
Or
don't know
even
where
acted
Bob...
like he was about to get married or anything?
No. I remember those
I
Jenkins
wondered if
girls.
maybe he just, wanted to, it seemed like he wanted to stay and be here with your dad, especially
Yeah,
when
he-
your dad found out he had cancer.
Yeah, but thank God Bob was here with him, you know.
Yeah.
And Bob was, I
And,
remember
and
we'd come
Ann
home.
was here too.
Oh, yes. Oh.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how Dad put up with that woman. You know, she didn't like him. She was his sister-in-law. And she would just be rude to him. And she was living here. And she was always talking about how much better Mother could have married. mother could have married Ed Lawler, and he was so wealthy, you know. And Dad was just like he didn't hear. I guess that was the only, you know, poor soul. She came down here and lived with them, and then insulted them. And she was so funny.
And when Bob and I got married, she was out at that place out in the country.
Oh yeah, out there on Grand.
What was that called?
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's out there towards Georgetown.
Mm-hmm. And I can't think of the name of it.
But it's kind of an old folks home.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and we had to go out there and see her.
Yeah.
And took Rosemary out there as a baby, and she insisted on holding Rosemary. And Bob was scared to death, didn't want her to. So finally, then I let her hold it, and I stood right behind her, you know, so I could grab Rosemary. But Bob said, "Well, we're not taking her out there anymore."
Wow. So then you and Bob got married, and Bob never moved out of this house, right? You just moved in.
Mm-hmm, right.
Started popping out babies.
Yeah.
And Jack, through the whole war, he was in the seminary, and when did he get out? Was he out
left
before the war?
I was just a real little kid when Jack left. I probably was 7 years old when Jack went in seminary, because they went right out of the 8th grade. You know, that's so young to make that kind of a commitment.
Yeah.
But then he was not at any age to go to the service, or he was exempt because he was a priest?
They were all exempt because they were in
seminary. Yeah.
Seminary, yeah.
So, and that was out in Ohio, right? Because he went to seminary where he ended up retiring. There at St. Charles, right?
Well, he went to Britterdale. That was in Canton, Ohio.
Okay.
And then that was what they called the minor seminary. And I guess it was a high school and maybe 2 years of college.
Okay.
And then they went over to Carthagena, where he was when he passed away.
Okay.
Yeah.
But where did he go right after he got out of seminary? I know he
Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And he wasn't up there very long. And all he ever talked about was how cold it was.
And then when did he go to Rome? Was that right after Wisconsin, or?
No,
I imagine he got shipped various different places.
Yeah, he was shipped around a number of places. He taught for about 7 or 8 years. They sent him back to seminary. What did he teach, Mary Lou?
I don't know. Some kind of religion.
Well, he had a master's degree in theology.
That's true.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, he got a PhD.
Yeah.
In theology. Okay.
Yeah. But I think, when he first went, or as a teacher, probably he went with a master's, don't you imagine, and then went back and got his PhD.
I would assume so,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think he enjoyed teaching. He was there quite a while. And then, I guess, maybe with his first parish out in Lexington.
I don't know.
Lexington's where we were talking about this morning, yeah.
And I don't know whether that was his first parish or not.
But
he loved it out there, too. Jack seemed content wherever he ended up.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he always...
And then what about Dick? He went in, wasn't he in the Navy?
Yeah. Dick went to work for, what was it? It was down at the Vogue, where Bob ended up, isn't that where Bob ended up with the shoe store down at the Vogue?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Dick worked there when he was in high school. And then he went in the Navy. And he went to Great Lakes. And he was up there. And then, where did he went down South Pacific somewhere, down in Marshall Islands.
Okay.
And I don't know how long he was down there. But it was right when the war was winding down, so.
You didn't really get any action then.
Well, there was a little, but nothing like, Bill and Bob got into.
Right. What about Jim Myers? I mean, he's so much
He
part of
was
the
in
family.
the
It's like
Army.
he went in the Army. I was thinking for some reason Navy, but anyway.
No, but wasn't he something wrong with his hand at the time? That's why they couldn't take him for a lot of
Yeah,
it.
remember he shot off his fingers when they
Yeah, or
went
something.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he took a rifle and was going to put it over a fence and
Right.
went off. And
Yeah.
he was lucky that's all that happened to him.
And
Yeah.
he was over in, was it Saudi Arabia or some of those places? They'd have him working on some of the equipment. That's all he could do. I can't remember if it was Saudi Arabia or someplace like that.
Is it just my memory as a kid, or am I making this up? Jim seems like he always made the comment the day that happened to him, that he shot his fingers off. That was the first Sunday he'd ever skipped church,
Is that right?
and so he never skipped afterwards. Maybe we were just little kids, and that was a story he told. But I
Could have
know
been,
for
yeah.
sure.
I remember hearing
Yeah.
the story.
Yeah, it probably was true then.
Probably
Yeah.
he heard us kids complaining about having to go to church,
Yeah.
and so he told that story
Yeah.
to help motivate us. or something. I don't know. Maybe.
I remember one time Jane and I were going down to the lake with Jimmy and Frank. And Jimmy lived in that duplex there on 3rd Street, across the street from Mary Lou Adams' folks. And so it was right before 8 o'clock Mass. And that was, like I say, people walked to church. A lot of people were walking up 3rd Street. And Jane gets out and she just yells at him. She says, "Jim Myers, you can come on. We got all your beer to take fishing for you." Jimmy came out and he was so mad at her.
So your brother Bob, did he serve? And I think we may have talked about that a little bit.
Yeah,
Go
we
back
did.
to that.
And he did for a short time, but I don't believe he never left the States.
Okay. And Ken?
And Ken wasn't
He was
old
in the
enough.
Korean War.
And he was in the Korean War.
Okay. So when Bob got done with his military service, did he go right to work for the railroad?
I think he did.
And that was Mopac? Or was that Union Pacific? Or what railroad was that he went to work for?
I believe it was Missouri Pacific.
Okay.
The Katy was a big thing through here for a long time, but then the Missouri Pacific came
Yeah,
through.
it took over.
And they kind of took over a lot of the Katy's business.
Yeah, because when I was at school.
That's kind of your dad and my dad both worked for the railroad for a while.
Yeah. Well, when I was in school, I'd say 2/3 of my class, their folks worked for the railroad.
Yeah.
And Mother's father, the reason they bought that house out there, right by the railroad track, was because he was in charge of the, if a train had a wreck or had something go wrong with it, he was the foreman of the wrecking crew.
Okay.
And he'd have to go clear down somewhere down the line to do the job until he got that house, and the train went right by there, and they would stop and pick him up, so he didn't have to.
Oh,
make
that
the
was a
trip.
good deal.
Yeah. I
So
never
that's
realized
why
that. That's
that was
pretty neat.
why they lived there.
Huh.
Yeah.
Mother
I never knew
hated
that.
it that the track, was there, and we had to listen to all the trains going by, especially the midnight one.
Isn't it funny?
And
though,
he'd
how
sit
you-
up there on the toilet and it'd kind of shake. You remember that?
Kind of. I remember enjoying the sound of the train going by whenever
Yeah.
we spend the night there. But I'm sure if you
But
lived
that's
there.
why he liked it, because they'd pick him up and he'd be ready to go on the wrecking crew.
Okay.
And then Dad worked for the railroad. I was trying to think. Oh yeah, he was in charge of stuff that was shipped by the railroad. He was right down there. You could take something there and have it shipped there somewhere to you. And then when the guys came back from the war, the guy that had the job, they let him have it back. And so Dad was without a job for a while. And then he got a job out on the Missouri Pacific line where they were getting rid of junk and everything.
Okay.
And it got to be too hard for him. He was getting too old to handle all that stuff.
Yeah.
So then he left there, and
Is that the old shops that are
the
kind of
shops
east
that are
of town?
Yes.
All
That's a Missouri Pacific
Yeah.
Missouri
shop.
Pacific shop.
And then
Katie
Katie's.
shops were
Yeah,
up where Katie
yeah.
Park is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember going out there and they had a little pond, had a little sprinkler thing in it. And Dad always said, stay away from that. Bill was about 5 years old and he fell in that. And I guess he almost drowned before they,
Lord.
realized what he had done.
Have you run out of
I'm
Time.
gonna check here. I don't think so.
We've been doing a lot of talking.
That's
Well, that
right.
was the intent.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. But yeah, we can call it good for now. Might do a little bit more later, depending on how this turns
That's
out.
fine.
and everything,
What
but
time
Yeah.
is it?
It is
Is it
Maybe
supper
it's-
time?
Time for,
4:45.
what
It's
is
time for
it?
Mighty Melt.
Time for
Time for
Mighty
Mighty
Yeah.
Mouse.
Okay.
So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and turn it off here, and